Welcome to datascience.show, the podcast where data science meets executive leadership. We talk with top AI and analytics thought leaders about turning data into real business impact. If you're a C-level leader or data expert shaping the future, you're in the right place.
Picture 2 Monday mornings. First, the logistics desk lights up. Hundreds of deliveries routed to the wrong distribution centers. The culprit, a geofeed drifted time zones and mapping offsets, and routing logic trusted stale coordinates. Overnight revenue loss, expedited freight, and a 3-day apology tour to customers. Second, a marketing enrichment feed surfaced customer attributes that, when audited, turned out to lack proper consent. Suddenly, lethal tech's involved, campaigns get paused, and a trusted vendor relationship is on the rocks. These are not hypothetical edge cases. They are the operating costs of treating purchased signals like magic inputs instead of auditable products.
Here's the promise for the next 20 minutes. You'll walk away with a compact, decision-first playbook to treat purchased signals as productized, auditable inputs. That means 3 things in practice. 1, a minimal certification rubric you can demand today. 2, an economic pattern to price signal risk and fund fallbacks. And 3, a short pilot you can run in 30 to 90 days to prove the approach. If you care about turning models into measurable value, this is the discipline that closes the loop between data risk and funded controls.
Let's start by mapping the terrain. Not all signals are the same. Roughly, you can bucket them into identity graphs, enrichment feeds, demographics, firmographics, geolocation and geofencing signals, credit and risk scores, and behavioral streams. Each bucket has characteristic failure modes. Identity graphs mislink or decay and silently poison personalization. Enrichment feeds can have consent or license entanglements. Geolocation will drift or suffer sampling bias. Credit feeds can change scoring methodology. Behavioral streams can be gamed or sparse in certain cohorts. The business stakes vary. Logistics and fraud systems are availability and correctness critical. Marketing personalization is quality and compliance critical. Credit decisions are regulatory critical. Map the feed to its decision surface. Who acts on it, how often, and what harm looks like if it fails.
Now, the certification rubric, the minimal evidence executives should demand. Think of this as an auditable checklist, short enough for a board packet and strict enough to reduce surprises. 4 pillars: provenance, sampling manifests, freshness and SLA guarantees, and licensing and consent attestations. Provenance. Ask for lineage metadata. How is the signal collected, stitched, and transformed? Sampling manifests. What fraction of the population is covered? What's the geographic and demographic bias? And provide a recent sample set with a reproducible sampling key. Freshness. Explicit freshness SLAs and a clear definition of stale for your use case. Licensing and consent. Vendor must provide attestations and a machine-readable license manifest. If personal data is involved, require a consent providence statement. Finally, anomaly test reports. Ask for periodic divergence tests that show how the feed behaved over recent months and what remediation steps were taken.
Certification matters, but boards and finance want numbers. How do you price a signal? Start by dollarizing the decision it supports. Tie a marginal business impact to the feed, lift in conversion, fraud reduction, routing costs saved, or underwriting accuracy. Then estimate the cost of failure, remediation, expedited operations, legal exposure. Pricing patterns I've seen work: chargeback, where internal consumers pay a signal fee aligned to expected marginal value, showback for discovery workloads, and escrowed rollback credits, a small funded pool the vendor commits to if their data change causes measurable damage. Make these conservative, auditable estimates and require a short validation window where the vendor's numbers are reconciled with your observed impact. That reduces post hoc disputes and gives procurement leverage.
You cannot avoid the engineering question. What happens when a feed fails? Design graded failover lanes. Start with masking. Gradually hide the external signal from the most sensitive decisions while preserving lower risk flows. Next, degrade. Switch to a less granular but more stable internal surrogate.
Third, synthetic augmentation. Run a lightweight internal model trained to approximate the external signal with explicit acceptance SLOs. Last resort, human review for high-impact decisions. Architect these lanes with measurable gates. Failure detection must trigger an automated staging path and an engineered rollback within your SLA. Importantly, accept that synthetic fallbacks will be imperfect. Make them time-boxed and measured so you know when to escalate.
Procurement needs precise language, not hand-waving. Include attestation clauses that require vendors to certify provenance and consent claims quarterly. Pre-change notice windows for any schema or methodology changes that could affect your decisions. Audit rights with limited secure access to raw samples or manifests, and rollback or remediation credits tied to measurable business impact. Avoid opaque IP pushback by offering a two-track approach, pilot scope attestations, and modest rollback credits first, with options to escalate terms after verification. Put verification hooks in contracts, API endpoints that allow an agreed reproducibility test, and define dispute resolution for disagreements on data quality or impact.
On the operations side, demand KPIs that actually enable decisions. Key fields to report, detection to decision time, how long from a feed anomaly to an executed failover, signal readiness score, a composite of freshness coverage, provenance confidence, and sampling fidelity, percent freshness coverage for critical segments, failure to fallback latency, and a short board-read report field set that summarizes incidents and costs. These metrics let you convert signal risk into an operational SLA and a finance line item. If you can't measure it, you can't fund the remediation reliably.
What would a 90-day pilot look like? Pick one critical feed that directly supports a measurable decision. Think routing coordinates, fraud risk scores, or a revenue-impacting enrichment. Week 0 to 2, run the certification rubric against the vendor and collect provenance and sampling manifests. Week 3 to 6, negotiate a pilot contract with a modest rollback credit and a pre-change notice commitment. Week 6 to 10, rehearse the failover in a staging environment. Execute masking, degrade gracefully, deploy a synthetic surrogate, and measure delta in decision quality. Week 10 to 12, brief the board with a single-page outcome, certification score, pilot economics, and recommended funded controls. This is time-boxed, measurable, and designed to create procurement and engineering alignment quickly.
Before we close, 3 immediate executive moves you can take tomorrow. 1. Pick your single most mission-critical external signal and demand the certification rubric be completed within 30 days. 2. Change procurement templates to include a pilot attestation and a modest rollback credit. Start small, but make it contractual. 3. Define a signal readiness score and require it on monthly operational dashboards. These moves convert silent single-point failures into funded controls you can audit and govern. If you adopt just one discipline from today, let it be productize signals so they're auditable and fundable, not just integrated and trusted.
Now, one final synthesis. Vendors will push back. IP and commercial sensitivity are real. Mitigate that with a two-track procurement path. Pilot attestations first, stronger terms after verification. Dollarize value conservatively and require a short validation window. And treat fallbacks as graded interventions with explicit acceptance SLOs so you can measure trade-offs before scaling. Do this and you stop reacting to surprises and start funding resilience. Subscribe to datascience.show for the one-page signal certification checklist that you can hand to procurement and the board. That's the difference between models and value.
Thanks for listening to datascience.show. If you found value in this episode, subscribe, share it with your network, and join us next time as we explore how data science drives smarter decisions and better business outcomes.